They say love is everlasting, that when two souls meet, something divine happens, something that could outlast time itself. Yet look around. If love truly lasts forever, why do most people end up as strangers again? Two hearts that once burned like stars often end in silence. Not because of money, not betrayal, not bad timing, but because something darker waits inside the very structure of love itself, a truth that Nietzsche saw long before we did. And once you hear it, you might never look at love the same way again. When love begins, it doesn't feel real. It feels supernatural, like gravity has shifted to pull only two bodies together. The world seems brighter, your heart faster, your soul louder. Every glance feels like fate, every word like a secret language meant only for two. But Nietzsche warned that beginning, that spark we call passion, is not truth. It's illusion. It's a dream dressed in poetry. We think we've found a person, but we've only found our reflection painted on their face. In the beginning, love is a hallucination, our imagination painting beauty, kindness, and perfection over someone who is, like us, flawed. That's why everything feels effortless. Every text feels magical. Every silence feels meaningful. But what we call chemistry is often just chaos, a storm of dopamine, oxytocin, adrenaline spinning inside the brain. And while storms are breathtaking, they never last. Nietzsche once said there is always some madness in love, but also some reason in that madness. What he meant was, love begins as possession. We don't fall for people. We fall for what they make us feel. Validation, excitement, comfort, safety. What we call love is often a craving, a hunger to be seen, to be chosen, to be enough. So when someone tells you, "I can't live without you," it sounds beautiful, but what it really means is, without you, I collapse. That isn't love. That's fear disguised as devotion. This is why most relationships start like fire and end in smoke. At first, illusion blinds us from reality, but eventually the mask begins to slip. The small quirks that once made you smile now start to grate on your nerves. The laughter fades into irritation. The words that once sounded poetic now feel repetitive. You tell yourself you can fix it, maybe with vacations, date nights, fewer arguments, more patience. But you can't fix an illusion, because it wasn't real to begin with. Nietzsche understood this cruel truth. He saw that we worship our partners like gods, only to discover they were human all along. And when the pedestal breaks, the fall is deafening. The person who once felt like your salvation suddenly feels like a stranger. You realize you weren't in love with them. You were in love with what you imagined them to be. That's why Nietzsche called love the most ingenious form of egoism. Because at its core, love begins with wanting to own something beautiful. We want to possess the person who makes us feel complete, to make them our mirror, a reflection of the version of ourselves we most want to see. But people aren't mirrors. They're storms. They're contradictions. They change. And that's where the illusion breaks. Because no one can remain the perfect fantasy we invented. When that fantasy collapses, most people don't let go. They tighten their grip. They fight to keep the illusion alive. But when love stops being fantasy, it becomes something else, a contest of power. The second trap. Because Nietzsche's idea of the will to power wasn't about armies or empires, it was about every human being, the urge to shape, to lead, to control. And in relationships, that same hunger wears the disguise of affection. At first, the power games look harmless. Who decides where to eat? Who texts first? Who apologizes? But under those small choices hides a bigger question: who leads and who follows? Every fight about chores, every argument about time, every sigh in the silence, all of it whispers the same thing: whose needs matter more? You see, The real battles in love aren't about dishes or messages or who forgot to call. They're about value, respect, recognition. Every human being wants to feel seen. But in love, two separate wills are forced to share one life, and the collision is inevitable. Compromises begin to feel like sacrifices. Silence starts to feel like defeat. Until one day the bond doesn't fade, it fractures. Modern psychology now echoes what Nietzsche saw centuries ago. Couples don't break over the big things. They break over the small things that mean something big. The forgotten word, the ignored feeling, the unspoken resentment. One partner feels unheard, the other feels trapped. Both feel unseen. And so the spark becomes a weapon. Every word, every gesture, heavy with unspoken power. In some relationships, one partner leads while the other quietly follows. It feels peaceful at first, one steering, one trusting. But peace built on silence eventually rots. The follower starts to vanish. The leader starts to feel unappreciated. Both begin to drown in resentment. In others, both are leaders, two strong wills clashing like storms. Every decision becomes a debate. Every difference a war. The home becomes a battlefield of quiet pride and tired love. Nietzsche wrote that in revenge and in love, woman is more barbarous than man, not because of gender, but because love reveals the primal in everyone. When affection fades, the will to power steps forward. Love becomes a tug of war, each heart pulling to keep its shape while trying not to lose the other. That's when love stops feeling like love. It starts feeling like survival. And when love turns into a silent war, what chance does it really have to endure? But the real threat isn't the arguments you hear. It's the shadows you don't. Carl Jung called it the shadow self, the hidden parts of us that we deny. Our anger, our jealousy, our fear of being unworthy. The pieces of ourselves we bury are the ones that choose for us when we fall in love. Because, as Jung said, everyone carries a shadow. And the less aware we are of it, the darker it becomes. That's why the quiet, shy soul is drawn to the wild, reckless one. Why the disciplined mind falls for chaos. Why the nurturing heart can't resist the one who refuses to be tamed. On the surface, we call it opposites attract. But underneath, it's the psyche searching for wholeness, our hidden side reaching out through another person. It's beautiful at first. The rebel completes the rule follower, the wild softens the careful. But soon, what once fascinated becomes unbearable. Her spontaneity that once thrilled him now feels like instability. His order that once grounded her now feels like a cage. The truth is, we were never in love with them. We were in love with the part of ourselves we saw reflected in them. Nietzsche warned, "When you look long into the abyss also looks into you." In love, that abyss is another person. What we see in them isn't always them. It's us, our shadow, our hunger, our fear. That's why love doesn't just comfort, it exposes. It rips away the mask and shows us who we really are. Love, in Nietzsche's eyes, wasn't meant to complete you. It was meant to reveal you, to drag your unconscious truths to the surface. That's why it hurts so much. We think we've met our soulmate, but really we've met our own reflection. And most of us can't stand what we see. Two people enter love hoping to be healed. Instead, they're dismantled. The dominant one learns how fragile they really are. The quiet one discovers the anger they buried. The joker realizes the despair behind their laughter. The caretaker feels the exhaustion of their hidden resentment. And suddenly, the attraction that once felt magnetic turns heavy. Because love isn't just meeting another person, it's meeting the parts of yourself you've avoided all your life. And when that mirror becomes too clear, many run. Some numb themselves with routine. Some drown in dependence. Because once the illusion dies and the shadow appears, Most hearts try to fill the emptiness with control. She begins to check his phone, not out of curiosity but out of fear. Fear of loss, fear of being left alone in a silence too wide to bear. He promises love, offers comfort, yet every reassurance only feeds her panic. The more she clings, the more he drifts, until love, once wild and free, becomes a cage built by trembling hands. Nietzsche called it slavery disguised as affection, because when love demands proof, it has already lost its innocence. True love does not beg to be owned. It breathes, it gives and lets go. The paradox is cruel. The closer we hold, the faster we lose. We crave oneness, but our nature aches for space. We dream of merging souls, yet suffocate once it happens. Every human being carries the will to power. Nietzsche said, the instinct to stand free, to create, to become. So when love chains that will, rebellion begins to grow. The very closeness that once felt safe begins to burn. Modern lovers call it needing space, but really it's the ancient cry of the soul wanting to breathe again. This is the quiet tragedy of dependency. It doesn't explode, it erodes. Day by day, love loses its color. Touch feels heavy. Words feel forced. And before you know it, the one you swore you couldn't live without becomes the reason you can't breathe. Nietzsche's warning echoes through centuries. Love that seeks to possess will, in the end, devour itself. But even if control doesn't kill love, routine often does. The mystery dies first. The curiosity that once made your heart race turns into predictability. You know their stories, their habits, the rhythm of their sighs. There are no surprises left, no unknown corners to explore. And when mystery dies, desire follows. We fall in love with what escapes us, not what we already own. Routine is love's slow poison. It promises peace but kills wonder. Modern couples often mistake comfort for connection. They share homes, bills, and chores, but forget to share silence that feels alive. They talk, but only about groceries and deadlines. They sit side by side, yet live miles apart. Love doesn't vanish with a scream. It fades in whispers, in evenings too quiet, in glances that no longer linger. Nietzsche's truth pierces through time. When danger leaves, so does desire. Then comes resentment, love's final shadow. It doesn't roar. It grows in the cracks left by unspoken words. The "I'm fine" that means "I'm broken." The forced smile that hides exhaustion. Every silence builds a wall, brick by brick, until one day they wake up strangers living under the same roof. Nietzsche said that what kills love isn't betrayal, but pretense. Not the knife in the back, but the truth never spoken aloud. A husband stays silent to avoid conflict. A wife hides her loneliness to seem strong. Each lie feels small, harmless, necessary. But silence hardens into distance, and distance turns into decay. By the time they finally speak, the bridge has already fallen. Love doesn't die in one moment. It starves, slowly, of honesty. And yet, beneath all the ruin, Nietzsche saw something profound. That love isn't broken when it ends. It completes its purpose. Every fire burns out, every star fades. Love is no exception. Its death isn't a failure. It's a mirror of life itself, beautiful because it ends. When we stop pretending love is eternal, we can finally see its truth. It was never meant to last forever. It was meant to awaken us. The point isn't to make it eternal, but to love so deeply that eternity wouldn't add a thing. To hold someone fully, knowing you must one day let go. That is the purest kind of love. The love that doesn't cling, doesn't beg, doesn't demand. It simply is. Marcus Aurelius said, "Confine yourself to the present. Love exists only now. And when you love with awareness instead of illusion, you free both yourself and the one you love. Nietzsche's final whisper is not despair, but liberation. Love doesn't fail when it ends. It fails when it becomes blind, possessive, or afraid. The secret isn't to make it last forever. The secret is to love without fear, to build friendship beneath passion, to let the fire burn knowing it will fade, and to still be grateful for its warmth. Because in the end, it isn't a lack of love that ruins us, but the lack of friendship beneath it. Love was never a promise of forever. It was a brief meeting of souls, a spark against the dark. And even when the fire dies, the light it gave can still guide you home.